Hello, and welcome to the Nadia podcast. I'm Nadia Cater, and joining me today for a very special episode is Jamie Trujillo.
Hi.
You may have heard of Jamie through her hundreds of emails that she sends a year.
That is so true.
The teacher's listserv, the director's listserv, any other emails that you sent out?
The NM Adult Classroom Teachers List, the data listserv, and the NMEA membership list. So yes, plenty.
So Jamie is the executive director of NMEA. She is also, among other very important duties, is the producer of this podcast. So I'm really happy that now you're not behind the scenes for this episode. It's like people can hear you. Listeners cannot, you got to appreciate the amount of time Jamie puts into as the producer role. So we haven't used that role yet until tonight, but
Right.
That's basically what you've been doing. You've been editing the podcast.
I have.
You market it. You put it on social media.
Yes.
You send it out to all the listservs.
Mm-hmm.
And that editing takes so much time.
It does. It really does. But it's, a skill that I'm building, that I'm really enjoying doing. And I'm just really happy to be here talking about this topic in particular.
Yeah. So today's episode topic are self-care tips. You may have seen one of Jamie's emails. We asked the field. So you guys, you're practitioners in New Mexico in the adult education sphere, right? What are your self-care tips? And we got quite a few.
Absolutely. The response was very positive. I was really happy with all the emails we got. I was happy that so many people were excited about this topic.
Yeah, people were really excited to be like, this is what I do, and it works for me. I want to share it.
Yes.
So, let's take a step back here. What does self-care mean? So, according to Wikipedia, self-care has been defined as the process of establishing behaviors to ensure holistic well-being of oneself, to promote health, and actively manage illness when it occurs. But I'd like to add a little to that. I would also include preventative care. So not waiting until you're on the brink of a meltdown or completely bedridden with illness, but knowingly taking steps to prevent getting to that point. And I think that's really important. I think people do not always able to recognize how important that is.
I agree completely. I can't tell you how many times I would get sick during my winter breaks, during my summer breaks, during my spring breaks, because I was not doing that. So yes, absolutely.
Oh, me too. I would just, it's a work in progress because I still get into these really bad habits of where I'll just work and use the weekends as recovery time. But then, we just at Propel, where I am now, we do so many projects and so many professional development and going to conferences and traveling around the state. We're recording right now in a hotel in Farmington, but this was the best time to do this.
Yes, it was. Absolutely.
But yeah, so what I get to is like, then I get to a point where I'm exhausted even before the weekend happens, and I'll work, and at the end of the day, I'll just collapse and I'll sleep for 3 hours. And, that's not healthy. And I've been doing that for years. I recognize that in myself, that getting to that point means you're putting your body in this stressful, mode, being, and your body has to recover from that, but then also recover from regular stuff too.
Yes.
And you're putting your body through so much, and your brain all together, and it does have long-term effects. You know, like these grays in my hair are not just genetic.
Exactly. Exactly.
Stress is not healthy. So we got, At the listserv, we collected all of these self-care tips. A few people actually requested that they remain anonymous. So everyone's anonymous. We're just going to talk about the tips that we received. And if you hear your self-care tip, you can point it out. Hey, that's me, to, I guess, yourself, because you're listening by yourself, because this is an asynchronous recording. But you'll know who you are, and you'll know that hopefully that someone somewhere in New Mexico heard your tip and was like, yeah, I'm going to try that. So what we did, and this was part of my job too as podcast admin, right? Not only do I host and find some people to talk to, but I also do a lot of organization, collecting. So what I did was Jamie sent me all of these tips. I organized them. Some of them were repetitive, so we're just going to just read them off as they are. We split them into different categories. So the categories that I kind of put together are food and drink, exercise, work/home life balance, spiritual/nature, and hobbies and social. So how we're going to do this is we're going to read the tips, then we're going to talk about the categories. So some categories are pretty short, some are really long. You guys had a lot of tips.
Yes.
In some cases more than others, but I'm really excited to sort of read these off and break them down with Jamie.
Yes.
Yes. So Jamie, why don't you start with the first category, food and drink?
Absolutely. So with food and drink, we had these tips. Drinking green tea, buying yourself something, a little treat for yourself goes a long way, even if it's an ice cream that you can't have. Enjoying your favorite dessert, taking vitamins and supplements. And someone also mentioned, eating organic food, eating really good food. So those were the self-care tips in the food and drink category.
So what spoke to me here is green tea also has caffeine in it. Granted, a low caffeine count, but I would say drinking anything that warms you up and, has this semblance of healthy, right?
Yes.
Like green tea would also do. I have a few different teas that I like that are herbal at night, and that especially during the colder months. So right now we're recording in November, so it's chilly.
Yes.
It's chilly in Farmington tonight. So the kind of teas that I kind of gravitate towards are mint, usually like a spearmint, not a fan peppermint, but no judgment. I also I have this weird two teas that I really do enjoy, especially during the colder months, and that is a bitter melon tea. So bitter melon is a vegetable. It's I've seen it used mostly in Chinese like cuisine, but I'm sure it's in a lot of different Asian cuisines. It's super bitter.
Oh, wow.
But there's just something about it that just kind of relaxes me. And another tea is a licorice mint tea. So licorice root.
Okay.
With mint. I don't know what kind of mint, but it doesn't matter. So licorice, you guys, it has that anise flavor. So it's like anise mint. And it kind of just like puts me in a good place. I like some weird stuff. Also looking at going treats. So I like that someone said like treating yourself to, your favorite dessert or ice cream. But then also another tip was like eating healthy. Yeah, we gotta have that balance.
Absolutely. Balance is key.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what are your sort of relaxing or self-care kind of food drink? What would fit here for you?
I will never forget this. When I was in college, there was a book that I read. And in this book, there was a saying that eating is a small good thing. And I never forgot that. And to me, eating is something that should be enjoyed and should be mindful. And so absolutely warm drinks are a big part of that for me. I tend to go toward the herbal teas, usually chamomile and peppermint, because I like to have it before bed. It's one of those things that just relaxes me, especially with valerian root in it. It's a nice natural way to calm myself down. I really enjoy different kinds of bready desserts and pastries, and that is all day long. I give myself that permission to have those types of treat foods when I want them. Sometimes I think one of the perks of being an adult is you don't have to wait till the end for dessert if you don't want to. Or you don't have to have breakfast at 9 a.m. You can have breakfast for dinner if you want to. So just giving myself the permission to eat the foods that do bring me enjoyment, but also to have that balance, to stop when I'm full, to genuinely stop when I'm full and then eat when I'm hungry. And I think we've all been there, or many of us have been there, where we try to limit ourselves, when we diet or when we are trying so hard to lose weight. And not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just finding a way to make it sustainable. And so finding those healthy foods that you really enjoy and sticking to those, or finding those replacements. That's one thing that I've also learned as well, is if you're going to get rid of something that is not healthy, you replace it with something that is, so that you have, there's not that void. So for example, replacing a nightly glass of wine with a nightly glass of herbal tea, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, I definitely am a big fan of food and drink as self-care. And yeah, it brings me a lot of joy.
What's kind of interesting is one thing that I would also add is not just what you eat, but also how you get to that point. So like sometimes for me, self-care is really just meal prepping. And I know some people don't think of that as self-care, but it's like if I don't have to think for the first 2 or 3 days of the week, I made something on Sunday, and then I'm just eating that meal for like lunches for the next few days. That to me is like, okay, one less thing I have to worry about.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
So I'll make like a soup or a stew, especially again during these colder months. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite. It's like being hugged from the inside.
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, so just having like, a nice chicken soup for lunches, and then that's just one less meal I have to worry about, because that's something that people don't tell you as a kid. That's the thing you have to worry about for the rest of your life. What am I going to eat every day?
Yes, 3 times a day, every day for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and sometimes that gets so annoying. It's like, oh man, we're just going to keep having this conversation forever.
Yes. And some people really do enjoy cooking. So when you talk about meal prep, that can be part of it too. I myself am not somebody that enjoys cooking, but I do know people that do. And so that also can be part of your self-care regimen, is finding those things that you really love to cook. Or like you love soups and stews, and just taking the time to do that, I think, is also enjoyable.
Yeah. Or like, I don't know, a pasta. I love pasta. And if I can make myself like a really good sauce, oh my God. I'm set, guys. I will eat that for like 3 or 4 meals in a row. Am I having pasta for lunch and dinner? Maybe breakfast the next day? Probably. I tend to make too much pasta. My partner can only eat so much pasta. She's not from New York. She doesn't understand. East Coast, pasta coast.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So the next category is exercise. So I'm just going to read off the list. Taking long walks with my dogs. A quick 5-minute walk. When feeling frustration and aggravation, I take a quick 5-minute or less walk. Just by walking away and getting some fresh air, I feel refreshed. Plus, New Mexico is very pretty. I agree with you, Anonymous.
I couldn't agree more.
I usually take a 15-minute walk once I get home from work to either reflect or to let go of a stressful day. So what I'm seeing here is walks. That's generally what we were getting from people. So you like to walk, Jamie?
I do. I love to walk. I walk almost every day. I have 2 dogs, so I love to walk my dogs. I also do walk runs, and then walk on the weekends along the river.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
I also like walking along the river when I can. See, the thing with me is I need to have routines. And I've noticed I go through these periods where if work is particularly stressful, or most recently I had family come to town. So like, making sure that arrangements are done, that we're doing, family stuff togetherness. And that messes up my routine. And my routine is going to the gym in the mornings. And because I'm such a routine focused person, if I mess up my routine, it's just so hard to get back to it. So like for a while I was going to the gym like 4 days a week. I felt fantastic. But then, with the family coming to visit, that just destroyed my schedule.
Yeah.
Even though we went on walks, I tried to be as active as I can. It just wasn't the same because,
Sure.
again, I cannot stress this enough, very routine based. So now I'm trying to get back into it. So before we left for Farmington this morning, I went to the gym.
I took my dogs for a walk this morning. So,
okay, so we worked it out. Yeah. Sometimes I also feel like it really, because you're in an exercise mode, it kind of just changes your brain a little bit, And sometimes if I'm like worried about a project, I would really just go and just really belt it out on them. I don't know what to call that. Run it out, move it out on exercise machines, and then I'll leave the gym like a half hour, 45 minutes later, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to take this on.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think, exercise is good any time of the day, but it's a really great way to start your day, to kick off the day, give yourself that boost of energy and oxygen. We know this. Exercise increases your blood flow, which increases oxygen to your brain. It makes you more alert throughout the day. It's incredibly beneficial. And I will add, because somebody made mention, New Mexico is very pretty. Yes, when you walk in or run or bike or hike, whatever you're doing, if your scenery is beautiful, that makes a big difference too. It's wonderful. I love going for walks in the botanical garden in Albuquerque. I love seeing the plants. I've seen them dozens, hundreds of times maybe at this point. It doesn't matter. I never get tired of it. I've seen the river so many times in my life being a native New Mexican. I never get tired of that. And that increases just emotional enjoyment along with that physical burst of energy, endorphins, oxygen, blood flow, all of it. It's so beneficial. Can't emphasize that enough.
Absolutely. I hope you guys are writing this down. It's very important. Okay, so this next category is spiritual / nature, self-care. So some of these do kind of bleed into each other as is natural. I tried my best to just split source certain things, but yeah, it happens. This is a long one too.
Yes. Okay, so I'll read these.
So read them quick, and then let's talk about overall.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are good. It's going to be a while, guys. So just bear with me. I do a meditation that creates healthy, energetic boundaries between students and teachers. Positivity and gratitude. I focus on positive things or things that are going well in my life. 5 things that you're grateful for each day. Take a break. During a stressful situation, step away and take deep breaths to calm down. Somebody mentioned grounding. It's where you take time to be barefoot and nature and get your feet dirty. Massages every other month. Sitting in nature. Take in the beauty of nature and breathe the fresh air that comes with it. Sit as long as you need. Listen to music. And if you write. Having a strong spiritual life. Trust and surrender. Always be kind and helpful to others. Forgive yourself and even pre-forgive others. Sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. Count your blessings. Have an attitude of gratitude. Stay in a place of love. Heating pads and ice packs. Taking some time on a heating pad helps reduce tension. Belly breathing. It's a great way to reset the anxiety that builds up in your body throughout the day. Relaxing activities, taking a warm bath. And by the way, there are 3 bullets that talk about taking baths with bath salts, bubble baths, relaxing scents, again, Epsom salt, taking full deep breaths, going shopping, and once again, playing in the dirt, bacteria in the soil. And this is something new that I just learned today. Mycobacterium vaccae triggers the release of serotonin in our brain. So again, that was a long list, but here we are talking about just your spiritual self-care, being in nature, things like that.
Oh yeah. So I can't remember the last time I played in dirt, but sometimes weirdly I think about it. Like I also think about at my mom's house, she has a little bit, some of her backyard has grass in it. And I remember, even as an adult, just taking my shoes and socks off and just kind of walking a little bit in the grass just felt so good. I was like, oh, I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't have grass. Well, I do, but people walk their dogs on at my apartment complex. So I'm a little hesitant. But yeah, definitely. That's something I do miss just not doing every day or, regularly. Oh, heating pads.
Heating pads are wonderful. I love heating pads, but it really does relax the muscles, makes them more pliant, which is great.
Yeah. Okay. You want to talk about the big one?
The big one.
Bubble baths.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is a big one. Especially Epsom salt. I mean, I really believe in the healing properties of Epsom salt. It draws out toxins from your body as you're relaxing in warm water, or in my case, hot water. But you really get a lot out of it, especially because as educators, we're stressed out all the time. It is a high stress job that we're all doing, folks. Adult education is the hardest job that you just love. And so after that stress of your day, having that time to sit in a bubble bath and relax, whether you're reading a book, listening to music, watching a movie, because that's what I do, you can just relax and just let your body absorb the Epsom salt, which I really love.
I do want to add, because I read something on a bag of Epsom salt, and it was not recommended for people with diabetes.
Interesting.
Because they dry out the feet.
Okay.
And diabetics have to be careful of the extremities, which I thought was fascinating. I never heard anyone say that before.
Same.
For some reason, I was reading a bag of Epsom salt, like, what is in this? Salt.
It is. Yeah. Which, of course, does dry you out. Yes.
So it could. So, make sure with these self-care tips, guys, just kind of like we're not medical professionals, obviously.
Right.
But also make sure you're reading some packaging and just also keep in mind of your own health needs too. If caffeine, like my partner can't have a lot of caffeine, it actually gives her it makes her heart race. So if we're saying relax the cup of tea and your heart races drinking caffeine, don't go for the caffeinated tea.
Exactly.
You guys, you're going to know yourself better than we're going to know you. So just with these tips, just keep that in mind.
Yes.
I also love bubble baths, but Epsom salt, that's been my jam. And since I moved to New Mexico, which I kind of feel bad as a desert, but I've been taking more baths than I've ever taken. But sometimes you just got a stressful job sometimes, you know? This interview will continue on the next part of this episode. Thank you for listening to the Nemea podcast.